We're in the number system. This is C, this is D, E, F, G, A, and B. And then this is when you play it. So it'll be like, this is what's coming, which is C, and then you would play it now. Okay, let's try that. Let's go. Ready? C, D. This is C sharp, D sharp, F sharp, G sharp, A sharp. Okay. If I do this, it means you're split into two grooves. So that's the number system. When I do that, we're in the number system, and that was the number system. When I do this, we're in the free note system. Free note, okay? So what you can do is just think of a note on your instrument. Could be C, could be F sharp, could be low first finger on the E string, high second finger on the D string. I don't care. Think of one note, ready? And then what we're gonna do is, when I give you this signal, we're gonna start that note together, and then we are going to balance our level. So you're not going to be louder than anybody else. If you are, you're going to get quieter. And if you're quieter than anybody else, you're going to get louder. We're going to have the same level, and then we're going to cut off at exactly the same time. Ready? Free note. Nice. Again. Sometimes I won't cut you off and I'll just give you another free note. Let's just practice something. So we're just gonna hold one free note, and what I want you to practice is changing your bow. Changing your bow, right? Because sometimes we unconsciously, we're kind of like, we're like prisoners of our bow. We don't realize it. So we're gonna change the bow, but just keep the long note smooth. Okay, one note. With me though, this is another example of how the bow, we kind of, physically we want to just keep our bow moving, but the music, that's not what it's telling us, right? Move with me. And also, we don't need to change the bow. Just because we play a new note, we don't need to change the bow, right? So yeah, it is kind of confusing, isn't it? I think but my interpretation is always when I give a free note, I'll cut you off, right? So we hold the note. Okay, I'm going to show you, this is what I actually usually do first with kids. This is called an icebreaker exercise. And it's meant to introduce the kids to improvisation from zero, right? So we'll come back to this later. So in this icebreaker exercise, I will always give you a series of rules. That's why you can also think of it as a game if you like. There's a series of rules. Within those rules, you will improvise. All right? So the first set of rules is as follows. You will play only the note open A. You will play it only with this rhythm, ta, 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 and only at that tempo. There will be no rests. Within that set of rules, let's improvise. 1, 2, ready, go. next exercise, all of the same rules apply, except you can choose between open A and open D. And you can change between open A and open D whenever you want. Ready? 3, 4. In the next set, you can play any of the notes A, B, C, D, E, F, G when C and F are sharp. Any of the notes across your instrument, anywhere that they occur on your instrument with the letter names A, B, C, D, E, F, or G, when C and F are always sharp. You may also know this sometimes as the D major scale, but it doesn't have to just be thought of that way, okay? Because it's also A mixolydian, it's also G Lydian, it's also F Phrygian, I think, and it's also C sharp Locrian, it's also E Dorian. Actually, that's a fun one, right? So all the other rules apply. 1, 2, ready, go. Now we're going to do the same thing, but with triplets. Triplet, 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 triplet. And just as a reminder, you can do anything with your bow you want. Triplet, triplet. Let's go back to duple. This time you can play any of the 12 notes that you are familiar with. 12 notes, anywhere that they occur on your instrument. Back to duple, so it'll be da, 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 ready, go. Same thing this time, but now you can also play rests. Rests. You can play rests whenever you want. 2, 3, 4. This time you can play triplet or duples, and you can play rests, and you can also change the tempo as often as you want. You can also play different rhythms. Ready, go. Congratulations. That is free improvisation. So just as a little like behind the scenes of the philosophy of the pedagogy, reflect on the icebreaker exercise. So I think that creativity is simply a matter of choosing. We make choices. That is creativity. We choose what note to play, we choose when to play it, we choose how to play it. It's that simple. That's what creativity is to me. I take as an assumption that any note that you play, any note that you play, any note that you play is beautiful, intelligent, soulful, powerful. As an assumption. And most importantly, musical. And it is music. That when you improvise, it is music. I hold this assumption to be true. If you disagree with that assumption, that's fine. You and I are we have different opinions. But this is an assumption that is foundational to my philosophy and my pedagogy. If you don't agree with that, that's fine. I don't need to fight with you about it. We can agree to disagree. But it is a very important foundation of what I do. And I would say that, part of the reason that I respect all of you so much is because you have a teacher's heart. That's what they say in the United States, right? So when a 5-year-old or a 12-year-old comes to you and they play for you, you see them as perfect. And when they play, even in their first lesson for you, you hear everything they play as perfect, as soulful, as beautiful, as intelligent, as powerful. That's what you see in your students. It's important that you see that in yourself. I think many teachers come from such a lopsided standpoint of contribution, focused on contribution, that they don't come from a place of reception. And really, you don't need to agree with me on this either, but I would say that a balanced life is one that recognizes the yin and yang of contribution and reception. Now, I come as a young person, I really identified as a performer, so I was lopsided in the other way. I just wanted attention and praise, and I just say, hey, me, look at what I can do, right? I've evolved. We're all evolving. I've evolved into a person with the teacher's heart. Now I'm more sensitive to the contribution side. But I think for a lot of teachers who started out as teachers, I've observed that they're lopsided on the other way. So if you're holding back, if you're not giving yourself, if you're not seeing yourself in the same way that you see your students might pick up on that. Make yourself bigger. Don't hide. Show your students what it looks like to have a powerful voice, to lean into your beauty, your intelligence, your soulfulness, your power, your strength. Show your students that. And take this as an opportunity for you. Just like yoga, just like any kind of practice, when you have your instrument and you can play anything and you can just reflect on that it's beautiful, that it's soulful, that your sound is unique, original, and musical. It doesn't matter what note you choose. It really doesn't. And you can notice things as you play. You can notice things. If I'm in yoga class and I'm doing mountain pose, I can notice all kinds of things about my body. I can notice all kinds of things about how I feel, but my yoga teacher is going to say, notice, but also, know that you're perfect just where you are right now. And this is how I want you to think about your sound, your playing. Not to focus on your deficiencies, not to focus or perceived deficiencies, not to focus on your perceived deficits. Your relationship with your violin and your relationship with music is a vehicle for you to become a better friend to yourself. To soothe yourself, to accept yourself, to forgive yourself. And when you can do those things, when you can give yourself what you truly need, you will give more to your students. I can tell you, I can be a witness to this. I can give testimony to this. I've had trauma in my life. I've had all kinds of issues that I've struggled with, you know, and teaching is that vehicle for me now. Teaching is the vehicle for me to notice, you know, all my deficiencies and forgive myself and take that feedback every day from better teachers than myself and learn and come back the next day and do a better job and act on that feedback. But all throughout the process to forgive myself, to soothe myself, to accept myself, to love myself. But you may need that when it comes to playing your instrument, playing with your students. Okay, so the next sequence, I start with something called free association. We can all do this together. I'm gonna say a word, I want you to say the first word that comes to your mind. The first word that comes to your mind is the correct answer. Okay, everybody ready? Here we go. Wales. ESTA. Music. Friday. Sunday. Great, thank you. Okay, now we're gonna do the same thing, but we're gonna play. I'm gonna say a word, you're gonna play the first word, the first thing that comes to your mind. The first thing that comes to your mind is the correct answer, okay? And you're just gonna keep playing until I cut you off. Are you ready? Here's the first word, angry. Sad. Confused. Bouncing bows. Full bows. Pizzicato. Triangle. A cloudy day. Inner peace. Great. So in the icebreaker exercise that we did earlier, I meant to say, after I said that creativity is simply a matter of choice, it's a matter of just choosing things, that one of the reasons, there's actually two reasons, three, that people struggle with improvisation. Classically trained string players struggle with improvisation. There's three main reasons. One is because they assume that what they're doing is not music. But two is because without limits, it's impossible to choose. What are we choosing from anytime we make a choice? Usually, like if you just sit down and I say, play something for me, then you have infinite choices. You're choosing from an infinite universe. And this is paralyzing. This freedom of having too much choice is paralyzing. So what I did in the icebreaker was I started off by giving you a binary choice. You could only choose, well, it was even less than that. It was like you had to play the note A at this tempo, so what could you do? You could choose between slow and you could choose between soft and loud, or you could choose between short and long. I mean, there weren't many things that you could choose from, right? So it's really easy. When we limit choice, we make it easy to choose. That's it. Say play an A or play a D. And this is something that you can bring into when you want to teach your students to improvise. Of course, the crucial thing is that you have a willingness to be in that playing space with them. Don't expect to be like, okay, I'm going to teach you to improvise, but I'm not going to do it, right? Like, you need to do that with them. You need to show them that vulnerability. You need to engage in a playing way, right? In a messy way. So the reason we started with such strict rules, and then we progressed to the end where it was free improvisation and you could do anything, but by that point, you had let go of your inhibitions. That's how the icebreaker works. Now, the way that I structure improvisation is by giving myself parameters. I've given you parameters that had to do with rhythm, note choice, tempo, etc. The way that I find those parameters has to do with categorizing the infinite universe. So I'll give you an example. Have you ever been in a situation where your husband or your wife, they said, hey, I'm going to the grocery store, what do you want? And you were like, We've all had that experience because we can't think, there's too many choices. But if they then give you a category, it's very easy. If they said, well, do you want anything to drink? Do you want anything sweet? Is there some kind of meats you would like for me to get for you? Is there some kind of chips or savory snacks? As soon as you're given a category, it's very quick, it's very fast, it's very easy. Oh yeah, I want salad. Oh yeah, I need soy milk. Oh yeah, we need hygiene. I need shampoo, right? As soon as you're given a category, it's easy to then access a drop-down menu of parameters or items that fall into that category. So what I just took you through with free association was 4 categories that I use to break down the infinite universe. They're just my categories. You can come up with your own, but they are emotions, techniques, musical elements, and everything else. I'll say it again. Emotions, like angry, happy, sad. Techniques, which are right hand or left hand techniques associated with our instrument. 3 would be musical elements. Musical elements I take to be like the elements within the scientific periodic table. Things which cannot be broken down further. So like tempo, phrasing, rhythm, harmony, these kinds of things. Now with some of these, we have to kind of add something to them, because if I just say phrasing, what do you do with that, right? But I could say, play a 3-note phrase, or start your phrases on the downbeat, or I could say, play a 2-bar phrase, right? So we have to sometimes add some specificity to these things. And these cue cards represent a lot of the parameters from these different categories. So we can take one parameter like triangle, which comes from the other category, but we could also put 2 parameters together like confused triangle, right? We could do confused triangle marcato. And this is how we generate structures for ourselves to improvise individually or in small ensembles. Individually or in small ensembles. Now here's a very, very critical part of this. And I'm sorry, because normally if I was working with kids, they would be playing the entire time. But because you're teachers, I do want to give you some of the philosophy and the structure of the curriculum and the methodology behind this. And this is only one component of my multifaceted curriculum and methodology, by the way. So Daniel Kahneman wrote a book, it was in the airports about 6 or 7 years ago, called Fast Thinking, Slow Thinking. Fast thinking is the kind of thinking we do when we take our violin and we put it on our shoulder and we get ready to play. Slow thinking is the kind of thing we do if we were to put it in our other hand and try to set it to play. It would be a completely different experience. So fast thinking applies to something that we are an expert in, that we know thoroughly, deeply, or something that's instinctive, like taking our baby and moving it out of the way of an approaching lion or car. We have an instinct and we move very fast in cases of instinct or in the cases of expertise. Slow thinking is something we do when we haven't mastered something. So if I were to say, hey, let me show you the game of chess, right? And we sit down and play chess, you'd be like, what does this piece do? Let me tell you about it. It's called a rook. You know, so it can do this, it can do this. You're like, that, you know, like, okay, now I showed you all the pieces, and now we're gonna play a game of chess. It's gonna be very slow, right? After you played 100, 200 games of chess, then you'll be able to see 3 moves ahead, 4 moves ahead. The critical mistake that classical musicians make when they try to improvise is that they try to improvise over material that they do not understand. And that they assume that they should be able to understand it, that they should understand it, because you've been told, rightly so, that you have good ears. And you do have good ears when it comes to hearing a Mozartian melody played on your instrument, but that's different than hearing a chord progression. So if we were to bring a folk song out here, or we were to bring a jazz song out here, and it was to play it for you, you should not expect yourself to be able to recognize all the chords that are happening, let alone to have strategies to be able to play over those chords. And I know that you took theory in college, but it's not the same. It's totally different. So what I would say is, do not try to improvise over Lady Be Good. Do not try to improvise over that fiddle tune. Learn it. Learn it. And I have all kinds of materials that I can give you that'll help you learn it. But there's no shame in this. So stop shaming yourself. Like, you're an expert at many things. It just so happens that you haven't trained yourself to know about the chord progressions of songs because of your training. It's that simple. You know, a piano player who grew up playing in a church, they learned maybe about certain types of churches, they learned about chord progressions, right? A guitar player, their first day of playing the guitar, they learn a song in terms of its chord progression. But you might have gone 30 years, you probably have gone 30, 40 years, and 99% of the thousands of string players I've played with have had the exact same experience I did. And so I can tell you from a place of someone who struggled immensely. And for 10 years, I would just keep trying, let me just try again. Let me just try to hear it. If I hear that song again, if I just try to play, maybe something magically will happen. You're just gonna get more and more frustrated. And you're either going to beat yourself up or you're gonna exist in a state of denial, either of which is not healthy. So what you can do with that song, Lady Be Good, is you can go to someone like Bojan, or someone like Max, or someone like me, or Oriel, and you can be like, so how do you internalize this chordal information? How do you learn about voice leading? And how do you learn about what scales to play? And how can I accompany someone else on this song? I'll tell you, my standard for when I actually consider myself to have learned a song, my standard is this. I've learned a song when and only when I can accompany someone else playing the melody on that song. That is the only time when I consider that I've learned a song. So for many of you, you may not have learned any songs according to that definition, and that's totally okay. And I'm not shaming you. What I'm trying to tell you is to release you from this thought of I either have it or I don't have it. You do have it, but some things you just need to learn, and it's totally okay. And the moment that you start from zero with that process, you'll start this virtuous cycle where you'll develop other skills and other awareness and other functionality as a musician. Now, having said all of that, the other problem with this is that then when we think, oh, I don't know how to play over these songs, I don't know these songs, so then we don't improvise, we put it off. We say, well, someday I'm gonna learn all that theory stuff and then I'll be able to improvise. But that's problematic too, because you totally can be creative, immensely creative, if you work within structures that are known to you. If you work within structures that are instinctive to you, like play a quarter note, like play any note in D major, and that's what you want to give your students to do. So you're going to have like a dual track in this side of your playing, where on one hand, you're improvising a lot within structures that you're capable of doing so. And then you could be learning other things. You could be learning scales, you could be learning chord progressions, and then at some point these things will marry together at certain points. All right. So, yeah. So let's go back to the free note conducted improvisation. So there's another signal that I did not show you, and the signal is this. When I point to you. When I point to you, it means you just play anything you want. Okay? But right now we're gonna do free improv, we're gonna do free notes. So free notes, and I want two people, just these two people. Okay? So each of you, you're gonna get a free note from this hand, you're gonna get a free note from this hand. And it's just gonna be play that note and hold it until I tell you to change, all right? So I want you to change. So group two, we're gonna do it a little bit differently. I would like for you to play half notes, and I'd like for you to play quarter notes. So just to explain what those are, so a half note would be like da, da, da. Quarter note would be like da, 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 da. I'll count you in. 1, 2, 3, go. Brilliant. Thank you so much.